Hey there, beautiful tribe. I thought I would cover something today since it came up with a client, or a student, I should say. Um, so, one of the things that I teach in Tantra is men, when you approach a woman and you're getting romantic with her, physical with her, the way our bodies are rigged, so this is kind of a secret that will, make you more successful, is that women are activated physically or sexually from the top down. Men, it's the opposite. So what that means is that, it's kind of like our bodies, or there's a domino effect from top down where you have to almost like open. Usually kissing is like the first thing you engage with when you get romantic, right? Because that's like the first gate, and it's actually connected all the way down to the genitals. And so that's addressed first, in the first, almost like first base. Neck is the second base, breasts are third base, and then we go down. So if you're not going in that order and you kind of go straight for her genitals or straight for her breasts, she's going to be kind of like, whoa, what's happening, And basically it just means you're skipping steps, probably unknowingly, because guys, kind of work from the opposite way. They're like from the feet all the way up. So it's we have to learn how to work with each other, since we are rigged oftentimes the opposite. But to give you success with men, this happened the other day where a student was talking about how they didn't necessarily feel comfortable starting with kissing always. And after he left, I started to get this feeling of, wow, there could be many different reasons why someone might not want to engage with kissing first off. And if we were to withhold judgment, it could be like, oh, that maybe they feel like they're kind of coming down with something, they don't want to expose you to it. Or maybe kissing isn't something you guys are sharing chemistry in, like it's not really doing anything for one or both of you. It could be that with the vaccination, that the person is not wanting to exchange fluids that way. Anyway, whatever reason it is, so for some it's very personal. Like, I don't do that in my sessions, for instance. A lot of times sickness will be carried through fluids, and usually if I get sick, it's because I kissed someone who was sick. So it's kind of safer to just, and probably more like sanitary to not do that. But when you are ready to be with a woman, you can't just skip kissing, because it's like the first thing that opens her body. And when you spend enough time at each gate or activation point, then it naturally opens, from here down. Not necessarily all on the first night, because we're not really rigged to do everything in one night. Like, guys can do that a little easier because you guys are more like race cars, but women, there's a lot more at stake, like pregnancy and STDs, and just our emotion, more so I would say emotional safety, because with ghosting and one night stands and whatever, it's usually not very emotionally safe to give that much, honestly, as a woman. We don't see things quite the same way guys do, where guys are just like, hey, don't you enjoy yourself, and isn't it fun, and let's just go for it. And it's like, well, not really. It's kind of painful when when a woman opens her heart and her body to someone, and then he doesn't, he just takes off. And that happens a lot in this culture. So it's not really emotionally very satisfying for her, and it just hurts. Anyway, that's another subject. So anyway, what my suggestion was for this particular student is that if you're not going to engage in kissing, then you at least need to do something like, in this area of activation, because that's where it all starts, and then it moves down. So that can be scalp massage, where you're doing scalp massage stuff, which is super relaxing. It's kind of like the steering wheel. So to get it to like have her let go of control of her head in a way, and where you're like massaging her scalp, even, some hair pulls if she likes that. I know I do. Um, Kind of makes me let go and surrender and go into that mode. It can be face massage, like the jaw's usually tight, and the temples, and you can use your fingers across her lips in a sensual way. So if you spend enough time there to kind of make up for the fact that you're not kissing, then that can suffice, or at least it's the next best thing, right? So, because you can't just skip it. It just, for her, it'll feel like, why does this not feel quite right? And she won't be able to put her finger on it because, we haven't been taught in our culture about these things very well. And so you're going to have backlash if you don't do it this way. That's all I can say. It'll end up coming back where she'll be like, whoa, because, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And when you're already going a mile a minute, and she's still way back there going, gosh, I just don't feel like I'm quite there yet. Almost like, one example could be like when someone's maybe fully into their plant medicine and you just took it, and so you're not there yet. It's kind of like that feeling. So okay, then when you move down to the neck, that's where the whole concept of necking came in, and making out and kiss. That can involve kissing. It can involve massage. It's basically, just relaxing. Most people's necks are really tight. I know I have to have mine released every week or I get headaches. So if you spend, you're already going to, if you're wanting to do it this way, you're already going to be spending time up there anyway, and just include her neck in that, and you can include some kisses on her face. It doesn't have to be your lips, but anyway, and just move that down in that mode. And if you're really respectful, I was thinking about this today, like whether when you're new and you're just getting to know each other, you're not necessarily in love yet, right? But the more respectful you are, and the more that you build trust with her and show her that you are safe to be with, the more she will open to you, and the more she will give back to you. Otherwise, she's gonna be kind of rigid, or sort of like tense. She may not be feeling comfortable giving back to you, and if she's not totally feeling safe. I know that's how it shows up for me. Like I kind of let a guy show me who he is first and how he's doing things, and that lets me know how safe I am. And then I usually just kind of can't really or I'm not motivated to give so much if I just don't feel like it's working for me, I guess. Like he has to be generous and safe, and make, I have to feel like I can trust him, and that he's not just in this for himself, and so it's since there's a lot of that out there, women know we have intuition, and whether we are conscious of it or not, our bodies know, and our bodies will kind of just contract, or and that's why a lot of women, I guess, say that they can't really relax fully or surrender, whereas I love surrendering. That's like super amazing when I can do that, because being kind of the businesswoman that I am, running a business, running my own show, being like a sovereign single person, at least at this most of my life, where I'm the one doing everything, it's really awesome for me to be able to surrender to preferably a divine masculine who I feel safe with and trust. And then, I usually find that I can outgive most partners that I'm with, and I've had a few though that could totally continue to give, and it's just like this big snowball that keeps regenerating itself. So there's always a lot of giving that wants to happen, and we're both generous, and we both feel safe, and we're really thriving. if I'm with someone who's not giving as much, then it kind of shuts me down, where I've had to learn actually how to not overgive, because then I get depleted, because if he's not reciprocating it in any way, or just in a minimalistic way, then it doesn't give me confidence to continue to give in such a big way. Yeah, and I've had to learn to tone it down, because some people are just not rigged that way, and then I find that I'm doing everything, and it's like, this isn't really doing anything for me, because it's not like reciprocating. And then, women often get burnt out, and then you wonder why they left or something. So, yes, and it's always good to ask her, does this feel good? And to, and women give him feedback, like, oh, that's a good spot right there. You got to work together on your communication, so he can't read your mind. But men, the best of you, as far as lovers go, are the ones who know how to read body language and read her body by how she's breathing, how she's responding, and, just asking questions to help get her there. And women giving him feedback as well, so he doesn't always have to ask, as to what's working for you, what isn't. Preferably you have that conversation ahead of time, like what turns you on and what turns you off, and what are your spots, what are your the things that you love in the bedroom, and maybe the things not so much. Do you like the tender lover, or do you like to be, what's the word? I'm always saying how I like this. Ravished. Like, do you like to be ravished and like have him show his masculinity and his strength? I know that's what I love, but I also love everything in between too. And whereas some women who've had, been a victim of rape or sexual molestation or whatever, they that might trigger them. So you actually have to be careful at first, and be more of a careful lover or a tender lover, a gentleman, so you can talk about all those things about what you like, and before you start, because then you're setting each other up for success, right? If you don't discuss this stuff at all, then it's kind of hit and miss, and usually the women gets the short end of the stick. Right now, it's funny, I'm watching this series that I'm actually kind of impressed with. There's certain things I don't like about it, but there's a lot I do like about it, and I never would have gone to look at it if a friend hadn't recommended it, because it's called Lucifer, and it's this interesting series where supposedly Lucifer, who happens to be a very hot, charming, very bright, actor, and he actually does have a heart, because, he's sort of in love with this woman, and it's changing him and how he does things. But he comes in to this therapist regularly, and so do his friends, and it's very fascinating, like the philosophical conversations they have, because he's kind of a mixed bag, I suppose. Anyway, I recommend it. It's very interesting, and I brought that up for a reason. And now, oh yeah, I was gonna say that he has this saying where he says, "Don't be a 2-pump chump," which means that you only last 2 pumps and then you're done. Because apparently, and what's hilarious about him is, he's quite the lover, right? And he's always asking people, what do you truly desire? And so when he is with a lover, he's actually in this show fulfilling their desires and really enjoys doing that. Providing that. So anyway, it's kind of refreshing, honestly, for him to call that out several times in the series, and because he says, if you're with me, I'll last all night, kind of a thing, which is tantric, is being able to last as long as to make it a really fun experience and have this rendezvous. It lasts for hours, you know, instead of just it being kind of like a half an hour thing that leaves her feeling wanting, you know, afterward. And yeah, that's the last thing you want to do, is leave her feeling that way and be like, okay, I'm gonna have to find somebody else because this is definitely not doing it for me. And so, you know, that's where Tantra comes in, and that's why I love showing men how to be with women more successfully, and what it is that women need to be able to join you in that experience in a mutually beneficial way. And a lot of it has to do with her feeling safe and her feeling like you're going to take care of her, and then, you know, then she feels safe giving back to you. And but if you're one of those guys that is kind of just in it for what you can get out of it, and you're expecting her to just do stuff to you and for you, and then there's not really that much in it for her. I feel like women who do that, who lead, a lot of times there's a little bit of desperation. They're just really trying to get your acceptance, and you know, she might have daddy issues, and she's willing to do stuff, but it's really not. It was designed more for the man to show what he's got, so that she's like, you've got my attention. And it seems like there was also almost like this dysfunctional reversal that happened at some point in time with the patriarchy, where, you know, women were, instead of being equal partners, you know, almost became literally property, and kind of like the weaker sex, and, you know, less rights and stuff like that. We weren't even allowed to vote. I mean, gosh, or even learn how to read and write at certain points in history, where we were literally kind of held down. And instead of being, you know, the divine feminines that we are, to be honored and cherished and enjoyed. So anyway, make sure that when you're starting with a woman, you're going from the top down when you're activating her sexually, and things will go much better. And you might want to ask her where she wants to stop. If you're new at it, and so your first few dates or whatever, if you're getting involved kind of early, ask her, okay, you know, what do you feel comfortable with? How far do you want to go before it's going to feel like too overwhelming? And a guy who asks that, that's a very caring thing to do. And that, in asking her that right off the bat, will tell her that you care about how she feels, and you care about her emotional well-being, instead of just trying to like manipulate her or push her to go beyond what she's really comfortable with, because then she's in emotional pain afterwards, usually, because she's given a lot, you know, in a lot of her body. And, you know, her emotions and heart are definitely part of things, more so because of how we're rigged as women. And a lot of women have just so much disappointment and frustration with the masculine in this department. So that's why Tantra is here to save the day and, you know, give success to everybody, so everybody's needs get met, because then it's a win-win, right? We want everybody to have their needs met and it be a win-win all the way around. And then that way there can just be constant reciprocation and giving and enjoying, instead of, you know, a lot of what's out there of kind of where things stop or fall apart too soon because there's not good communication, or they've gone too far, and then one of them's, usually the woman's, feeling very vulnerable at that point and not really honored correctly. You know, she needs to feel like you really appreciated and honored that experience, that she was willing to go that far with you. And if she's not sensing that, it's hard. It's hard to want to continue, or it's hard to feel good about it for her. So there you go. Take that secret about women and run with it, and make your sex life and your love life even better.